Welcome to So You're Kinda a Big Deal, a weekly podcast deep diving into the lives of emerging and established tattoo artists. Listen in as we dig into origin stories, industry hot topics, and what it takes to survive in the world of tattooing. This is Tattoo Shop Talk. Join your hosts Shawn, Hedley, and Dave Allen every week as we host a new guest.
It's no secret Dave and I have a good guy connection, but we have a great relationship with many respected suppliers. Working with Lucas Ford at Classic Tattoo, I saw firsthand the blood, sweat, and stress he went through building Good Guy. Creating products for your peers is no easy task. With many to critique any small missteps, including myself, tattooer owned and family operated since day one. With Lucas, Rob, and Natalie at the helm, you know exactly what you are getting. High quality products, fair prices, and excellent customer service. Shop, support, Good Guy.
The Whole Fast Social Club keeps expanding and adding features to make the life of tattooers easier. We just launched a classified section for pros only. Sell your tattoo gear, prints, whatever, in one spot. This is on top of a platform with peer-to-peer vouching, direct connect, a wait list, and geo-searching. Now you can find guest spots or forever homes at studios everywhere. No guessing, no awkward conversations. See what shops or artists have to offer. Mark them as favorites or add yourself to their wait list to let them know you are interested. Hold Fast Social Club keeps adding features to make connecting easy. Pros only, a place where the best of us can elevate each other.
I should have worn a hat. I feel out of place.
What, this one?
Nah. Microphone check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Well, are we recording?
It actually is recording. Yeah. Oh, great!
Goes right there.
Fun.
Oh,
Numbers. I'll just stop recording. Let's ask the first question, and then I'll hit stop. And then that's his fucking episode. Yeah. There you go. Done. Thank you. I'm going home. I'm out of here. I'm old. God damn it.
Oh.
Hey, everybody. This is Convention Week, Calgary.
2023.
Ooh, we're hanging out at Stronghold Tattoo, Ryan Gagne, the piercer, and we have. I love that so much. Every time, Ryan Gagne, the piercer. Yeah. Our good buddy Dax here, that's gonna talk your fucking ear off until we cut him off. I'll try not to be too long-winded.
Well, don't worry, we'll bring it back.
Yeah,
well, I'll bring it back because Shaw's just as long-winded.
Yeah, you really don't want to hang out with us. We suck. All right, buddy. The generic general question. Who am I?
Who are you and how'd you get your start in tattooing?
Well, my name's Dax Brunet. Not many people know my last name for some reason, or my full name, Daxton. I've been tattooing since 1997. Started tattooing actually in first shop I actually tattooed in was in Hamilton. I was a counter person.
Oh shit! What shop was that?
Sink and Ink.
Sink and Ink.
I was the counter guy at Sink and Ink for about a year and a half. I actually lived in the tattoo shop.
I always thought there's a few Sink and Inks out there, and the immediate image I get is I know it's your Sink and Ink. It's really clever, but I always get the impression of tattooing beside this fucking ratty old sink.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's where I rinse my machine and wash my hands between clients. Pretty much. No, it was actually like the guys who worked there were all pretty cool, just decent shop. I'd blown out my knee. I was actually a sponsored skateboarder. I just moved back from Florida. My knee was trashed. Couldn't skate. The skate shop was 2 doors over from the tattoo shop. And I was just, because I was getting residuals and stuff from skating, so I didn't really have to work. So I was just hanging out in the tattoo shop and the skate shop. And I just go back and forth all day until they close, and then I go home. So I just basically was hanging out at the tattoo shop so much, they're like, well, do you just want to fucking do something here? So they basically just made me a counter person.
Sweet.
Yeah. And so I started that. And then all my residuals stopped. And I didn't have any money. And I lost my apartment. And I ended up living in the waiting room of the tattoo shop. I slept on the waiting room couch for about almost a year. That's where I lived.
So
Like while I was a counter person.
That's how you get a job in a tattoo shop.
Yeah.
Like, just force yourself on them.
And basically that's like kind of like where I started drawing. Within a month of me being there, they started making me make all the needles for everybody in the shop, scrub all the tubes. The owner of the shop, he would do rough drawings and then be like, here, make me a line drawing of this, but in my style. And I would just have to be like, okay, and just figure it out. So I'd grab his photo album, put it down, and if it was like a tiger or something like that, we had Flash or whatever, but I'd look at the Flash, he'd have a really rough sketch, I'd find a tiger that he did before, and I would do the good line drawing for his drawing as close, like if he did an eye, if he did a circle with a little loop in the eyes, I would do that on his.
Nice.
And like stuff like that to make sure that it was his style.
So you had an apprenticeship before you knew you had an apprenticeship?
Yeah. Yeah, it was basically like I had an apprenticeship just kind of by osmosis.
You weren't a counter person. You were an apprentice.
I was basically an apprentice, yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
But I got paid 5% of what the shop brought in.
That's how we paid early counter guys. That's it.
Yeah, that was my percentage. But this is 1996. Shop rate was like $100 an hour. So I was making like maybe $30-$40 a day if I was lucky. Like I was like, fuck yeah, that's a good day.
Yeah.
I'd make $30-$40. So I lived off of, there was a sub shop around the corner. So I would eat subs every day. And
I see a pattern.
Yeah.
Through your whole career.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much it's like food and what's the closest food? How close can I live to the tattoo shop?
Totally.
Which has always been a strange thing that I do.
No, it's not.
I've then own a vehicle on top of it.
It's smart.
But for the longest time, I didn't own a vehicle.
Yeah.
Like I didn't actually even get a vehicle until I moved to
White Rock.
Calgary.
Calgary.
Yeah, I actually tattooed here for 2.5 years. Did
you not have a vehicle in White Rock? Oh, yeah. Calgary was first.
Yeah. Calgary was first.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hey, we're getting with it.
Oh yeah, my oh god, fuck! I've worked in so many tattoo shops. It's ridiculous.
Let's stick with Ontario because Ontario being kind of where you got your start was fascinating because there you worked with some awesome people. So I probably have a horseshoe jam so far up my ass it's not even funny. I was really, really lucky. I don't know if it was just because just my personality. I'm pretty outgoing and I'm not afraid to say whatever the hell I want to say. And some people that turns them off. Other people it doesn't. But in tattooing, you could kind of get away with that back then. Like people would come in, like even when I was a counter person and ask for a tattoo, I'd be like, man, that's fucking stupid. But I'm way nicer now, and I have been for the last probably 25 years. It's all inside now. I don't let it out because I don't care. Tattoos are for me. Tattoos are for the customer. Yeah. What they want is what they get, pretty much for me. Yeah.
But yeah, so I started out a counter guy in Hamilton, and then I think it was like a Thanksgiving or something like that, and there was a party at the owner's house. And he proceeded to get in a fight with one of the other tattooers, like a full fist fight.
Smart.
And the owner was like this big dude, like I'm not saying names just because whatever. He was a big guy, like probably 260 pounds, 6 foot at least, 6'2", and he was beating up this other tattooer in the shop who was 5'6", 140 pounds. So I ran over, tackled him. And me and him proceeded to just get in a full-blown fist fight. I broke his nose, gave him a black eye.
End of apprenticeship.
You know what? It wasn't, though. We actually went back to...
Gagne's over here just all jealous because he's like, damn it, I was just a piercer.
Yeah.
That's the cool one.
Yeah. But we went back to work like that following Tuesday, and Nobody really said much, but I kind of knew. I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. Like, and I just done my first 2 tattoos. I did one on myself. First one ever on myself, because back then that's what you did. And then I had a really good friend of mine, my friend Jamie McGinnis, who was a skater, a super good friend, and he started getting tattooed. And he was like, well, tattoo me. And I was like, all right, well, fuck it, let's tattoo it. So I tattooed him. So I did 2 tattoos, and then I really kind of had to, like, do something different, like get out of there. So I moved to Barrie, Ontario.
Oh, fuck.
Because my family was there. So I figured, okay, I'll move to Barrie. I think I was like 23 or maybe 24. And I was like, okay, I'll move to Barrie for like a little bit, and then I'll maybe go to Toronto or something like that, try and get a job tattooing, try and get like another apprenticeship or something. But when I got there, kind of got back into skating quite a bit, and started kind of skating for like a company there, which happened to be the same company that Chris David skateboarded for at the time. It's called 13 Skateboards.
Okay.
And then I met a tattooer there, this guy Derek Lewis. He had at the time when I first moved there, he was I think he still had a shop there, but he was working also in Way Cool,
Queen Street.
Yeah, he was working at Way Cool down there. He went by, what did he go by, Ghost Rider? Yeah, he went by Ghost Rider back then because all the Way Cool guys had nicknames.
Except Steve Moore.
I had no idea.
Yeah, except for Steve Moore, everybody had a fucking nickname. Yeah.
Sounds like right now.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
I did a lot of Instagram handles.
yeah, totally. Oh, you're Top Cat Dax. But yeah, like whatever. But it was so he was Ghost Rider. But he was a really good tattooer. Like for back then, like 97, he drew on 3/4 of what he did, and it was good. Like good. And I met him, and he was like, look, I work a couple days a week at this shop in Barrie. He's like, it's a weird shop, but like you can draw, you know what the hell you're doing. Work here. I'll introduce you to them. So he brought me over there, met the people who owned it. So this shop was called Ink Fetish.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So this shop was called Ink Fetish, and it was in like a big old house, and 3/4 of it was a head shop, and then there was a tattoo shop on the side and the basement. So all the tattooing was done in the basement.
Smart.
And the best light in the place. But yeah, so they just gave me a job. They're like, yeah, okay, yeah. I had like 2 tattoos under my belt.
Amazing.
For the first 6 months, I wouldn't tattoo women because I was terrified, like so scared to do a bad tattoo on a girl.
Totally.
I just didn't want to do that. Like I didn't want to fuck up a girl's tattoo. Sorry, I'm swearing so great.
No, that's fucking great.
But dudes can get away with shitty tattoos.
Yeah, and especially back then because like this is 1997. Like not a lot of people are like. There's not a lot of people tattooing.
Yeah.
Like in Barrie at that time, there was Ink Fetish, and then I think there was 2 other shops.
Devil's Den or Devil?
No,
Lucky Devil. Was Lucky Devil there?
No. So here's the thing. Ink Fetish was owned by this woman, I can't remember her goddamn name, whose husband's, her husband is the guy who opened up the first Lucky Devils.
Oh, okay.
So Ink Addiction became Lucky Devil.
Ink Fetish.
Ink Fetish, sorry.
Yeah.
Became Lucky Devil.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, so like when I was tattooing there, that's when like I tattooed Chris David, and I would tattoo all the skateboarders from the whole area. Actually, the first time it was the first or second time I tattooed Chris David, he was like, I want to get into tattooing. He's like, my uncle tattooed, and I want to get into tattooing. So like while I'm tattooing him, I'm just like, here. I just handed him the machine and started letting him like color in the stars on his leg that I was fixing that somebody else had done. And were those stars you did?
The ones around his calf?
Yeah.
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 I did those in 94 before
Yeah.
execution. I was probably so drunk.
Yeah. So basically, he proceeded to carve a hole in one of them. Like, just like he dug it. He literally dug a hole in
Wow,
himself.
this is cool.
It's amazing. You can still see the scar today. Like, it's perfect. Like, it's almost like a perfect, like, square trench from Mag that he just dug into himself. But yeah, so like that's when I met Chris, and then Chris moved to Toronto with his girlfriend at the time, and he was like some sort of worked at like a law office or a courier for a law
Look
office.
at history from him.
Yeah, it's
But stay on your story.
but he started kind of hanging out at this brand new shop that just opened, called Sal's Tattoo and Barbershop, like right after that. But yeah, so from Barrie, I ended up going to, where did it go? God damn it! So I worked there for a little while, couldn't take it anymore. Working in a head shop, it was just not good. And like, I hate to say it, but like, I'd been tattooing like 6 months, maybe a year, and I was the best tattooer there, and that was terrible. I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. They would use like 3 mags. Have you ever seen a freaking 3 mag? Basically,
A loose 3?
yeah, you would solder a 3 flat, and then you would bend the one needle down to do little tattoos. Wow,
Yeah, why?
it was amazing. I watched that dude line a back piece with one.
Ryan's looking to make them right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah, like so crazy. So I had to get out of there.
that's real
It was-
traditional shit.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. I had to get out of there. And then so this other guy that I'd never met before was opening a shop with D.
Oh, D. Brandt?
Yeah, so there was D and Donnie, who were brothers. D owned Adventure Tattoo in like Newmarket, or no,
No, it was in the West End.
it was in the West
Saga, I think.
Yeah, Mississauga. And his brother Donnie, who was a crazy raging alcoholic, had a shop in like not Newmarket, like no, Barrie. Yeah, it was just kind of on the outskirts of town.
Aurora.
No. It was still Barrie, but it was like off the main strip, like almost to the highway.
Okay.
And so this other guy and Donnie were opening up a new shop in Newmarket because there was no shops there. And that other dude, like that was opening it, he had been tattooing for like 6 months. I'd been tattooing for like a year, and he didn't know what to do, so he asked me. So I went over there and worked with him. I moved to Newmarket. So there's a guy a year in, and a guy 6 months in, running a tattoo shop.
It sounds like
I was just gonna
9% of the shops that are out today.
It was. And it was insanely busy because there was no shops in Newmarket. There was nothing.
Yeah.
And so we would get any people south of Barrie and north of Toronto would come to Newmarket to get
Yeah.
tattooed because there was nothing in between.
Just off the 400, super easy drive.
It was so, and like I did 12 to 15 tattoos a day, and I was slow.
Probably getting that Canada Wonderland money too.
Oh yeah, and
King City had the campus for the
yeah. Oh
for
god,
the OPP or for
it was
licensing or whatever.
absolutely insane. Like I was working at least 10, 12-hour days every single day, 7 days a week. Like I would go home and my hands would be swollen, and I would have to take like 6 Advils and then go to sleep. So when I woke up, I could close my hands and open
Crazy.
them. Like it was that nuts.
Because you're using grips that were probably this.
Yeah, we were
Pencil grips.
using like little tiny grips and stuff. And then so while I was working there, well,
No.
out of here.
Sean's got a fart. He's gonna fart off.
No.
Yeah. So while I was working there, Chris was starting out. Chris David was working down at Sal's, and I finally started taking 2 days a week off. And I would go down and hang out at Sal's
Nice.
with Steve Brazda, who owned it, Boji Dud, and Chris was there, and it was just the two of them there, and our friend Reds, was an old skateboarder friend of mine, and he made jewelry.
Okay.
He used to make all the jewelry at New Tribe back in the day, like in the early
Scooter
90s.
Red, right?
Yeah, Scooter Red. Yeah, man.
Crazy
Red
motherfucker.
is awesome.
Hi, Red.
Red's
You're
the
out there.
best. He is. He's on my Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah, you gotta find him. He's fucking awesome. I love Red.
Fuck, you building the last time I heard her even talk about that guy, he was building big fucking motors.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. I remember back in the days, like he was a scooter guy. Yep, it's all over the place. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I hate it too. I'm sorry.
Let's go back to Sal's.
So I started hanging out at Sal's to
Starbucks?
oh yeah, soy vanilla
Small
latte,
black-
please.
Small black coffee, please.
So I started hanging out at Sal's and going back to Newmarket, and then so I was like trying to learn a little bit from Steve Braza, who was down there, still working in Newmarket, and then the guy in Newmarket wanted to open up a second shop because we were so busy, and he had hired a bunch of like he had started hiring like some other kids that were learning to tattoo. So he opened up a shop in Aurora called Highway 11. So I went there to run that. Tattooing.
Sorry, we're running coffees.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna be long.
Yeah. So I went to fucking
We're still in his first year at tattooing.
yeah. Second year.
Jesus.
I went to Aurora and ran a shop for him. He hired his girlfriend to be kind of the counter girl and run it, and she actually made needles and stuff, so I didn't have to. And we hired my friend Wes Dix, who worked at TCB for a long time, and so basically, I don't know. I guess I was supposed to be teaching Wes how to tattoo, maybe. So we had this shop called Highway 11 in Aurora, and me and Wes lived in this giant farmhouse with all these skateboarder dudes. Like it was a mess. It was
Shout
wild.
out to Wes Dix.
Yeah, and so and then I started. So there, I actually I only worked 5 days a week. So I started going to Toronto on my days off again. So I started getting tattooed by Eugene Yu, who owned Tatarama.
Huge.
Yeah, and I had actually been getting tattooed by Huge, like we're talking early 90s, 91, 92, out of his house before he even like.
Yeah, that would have been after Hogtown. He worked at Hogtown, and I worked at Hogtown after he left.
Yeah. So I was getting tattooed by Huge out of his house way back then, like really early.
Yeah.
And so I started hanging out, like going down to Tatarama and getting tattooed from him. And Eugene was like, "Hey, do you want to work your days off down here?" So now I'm somehow teaching someone to tattoo at like 2 years in, and I'm working 5 days a week at one shop, and then and I didn't have a vehicle, so I'd have to take the bus from Aurora to Toronto, and then take the subway from the north farthest part of Toronto downtown, and then all the way out to Etobicoke to work at Tatarama 2 days a week.
Brutal.
It was like a 4-hour. I'd have to get up at like 6 in the morning.
And did you crash in the city while you were down there?
No,
You go.
I go home.
Oh, dude, that's the point.
So I was traveling like 8 hours a day, working 8 hours a day, just so I could work at Tatarama.
Sleep 8 hours a day too.
Because I wanted to work with like Eugene, and I wanted to work with Eric.
Yeah.
Eric was awesome, and Jay Decatur, he was awesome.
Still awesome.
Yeah, these were like great tattooers.
Yeah.
So I wanted to work with them.
So is that the crew that came in after like
That was the crew
after
that,
Shane and
after Shane, Oz, Emily D, Scott McEwen, like that was like
so like the
new crew.
Bill Baker and those guys, and then Jay Decatur and
like Tatarama was like Tatarama, Bill, and then it was like Bill and Oz, and then for some reason I think it was Bill, Oz, Scott, and then Shane,
Faulkner, yeah.
and then Emily D came in a little bit after
Bill
was gone by then. He sold it to Osvaldo.
So Wildenbauer was the counter guy there, and then ended up at New Tribe, where I was with I ended up with him. So, and then Emla D was the counter guy at Tattoo-Rama, but wanted the tattoo. So he was coming and tattooing me and friends at New Tribe at night.
Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
And then I left New Tribe to do Fusion. So Emla D then moved into my station.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I got tattooed by Dave Wildenbauer out of his house. The first time I got tattooed by him was at Tattoo-Rama in Scott McEwen's station in like 1991. And all I remember is Scott giving a serious shit that if there was a drop of ink on the floor, if there was anything, he would find both of us the next day and kick the shit out of both of us. And that was like my first introduction to Scott McEwen in like 1991. And so, yeah, me and like Dave did my forearm. It took like 4 hours, 5 hours. We were there till like at least midnight or longer. And then, yeah, that was my first introduction to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all those guys were working then. Emla D was awesome. Like first time I met him at a bar and I tried to fight him. Like I tried to get in a fist fight with him. And then we ended up just getting right shit faced together, like best friends. It's like just ridiculous. But like stupid stuff that you did in like, that would have been probably like 93 or
When you're young in your 20s. And
yeah, just an asshole.
And I mean, let's face it. Back then, a lot of tattooers were coming from dysfunctional families.
Oh yeah, like
Dysfunctional backgrounds.
like
Yeah, we don't know how to interact with normal people, let alone our sister.
like my childhood was freaking crazy. Like I
knew we were going to get.
just
Did I say that at the
nuts.
beginning?
Yeah, like
I was 6.
yeah. Well, I moved from Sudbury, Ontario, which is like 5 hours north of Toronto, to Toronto with a backpack and a skateboard when I was 16 years old.
Didn't you grow up on Manitoula Island though?
Well, I grew up every summer on Manitoulin Island. Like my grandfather owned 66 acres of land.
Which is an island in the middle of the Great Lakes for anyone
Yeah,
not knowing. It's fucking out there.
yeah.
So
So
take a ferry to get
well, no, there's a
there. You could
bridge.
drive from this one. But
Yeah, well, that's the I live north of
from the important part of Ontario.
For you southern people, yes, you took a fancy ferry, and it was called the Chi-Chi-Mung, of all things. But us northern people, we actually drove south to it. So, but yeah, like my grandfather owned 66 acres of land that he bought for $6,000 in like the 60s. And I would spend every summer, me and my grandfather and my uncle, in a 12 by 12 log cabin with no running water. For my 12th birthday, I got a shovel and a 4x4 plot on the ground to dig a new outhouse. That was what I got for my 12th birthday from my grandfather. So there's that. But yeah,
Let's circle back.
but yeah, so yeah, like
Back at
like,
Tattoo-Rama,
like
house.
a lot of tattooers, we all came up from crazy stuff. So we did, like most of us, especially back then, we didn't care. We just wanted to tattoo so bad. We were willing to do anything. If you told us, okay, you do this, and then you get to do the tattoo, fuck yeah, I'll do that. What do you want me to do? Like, what do I need to do? And that's where that whole kind of like people like about apprenticeships now, like, oh, you want me to go wash your car? Sure, I'll go wash your fucking car. You want me to fucking do the siding in your house? Sure, I'll go do the siding at your house. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And like nowadays, it's just like, oh, here's a machine tattoo. Okay. But no. But yeah, so yeah, I was starting to tattoo at Tattoo-Rama 2 days a week and in Newmarket. And then I started tattooing at Sal's as well a little bit. So I was tattooing like I was tattooing like 3 shops.
Tattoo slut.
Oh, 12.
Well, that's the thing. Like Toronto, New York, there's a few cities
Totally.
where people just work in multiple shops.
Yeah.
And then other cities, don't even
Don't even
fucking talk to those people at that shop. If I find
yeah.
hanging out with those fucking
Yeah,
people,
sure.
Yeah.
But in Ontario, remember Damien was talking about he couldn't even mention other shops in town.
Oh yeah.
But in Toronto, yeah, guys that work at multiple shops is like, just fill the fucking seat. You can work 2 days, great, do it.
Yeah. Like there was like a 6-month point in there where I was actually working just at Sal's for a little while, and it was just me and Steve Brazda. Chris wasn't even there, and me, Steve Brazda, and Reds were all living in the back of the tattoo shop. There's 3 of us living there.
me and Dave Green, we lived in fucking New Tribe.
Yeah, and like actually, we were using the showers, the ones behind New Tribe, because Steve Brazda, he worked at New Tribe and then opened up Sal after spending 6 months in Europe.
Yeah.
And so remember there was like the showers, like it was like a pool and everything behind New Tribe. So we would go there and take showers and stuff. Or if you had a girlfriend, you'd stay your girlfriends as much as possible. And like
me and Dave Green would like once a month get like a room at the Delta.
Yeah, it didn't fancy.
Like a $600 fucking room. It's just like we're gonna have the longest fucking showers ever.
Oh yeah. God, yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, like at that time you would just do anything to be tattooing. And like hourly rate then, what is it? It doesn't matter because you're getting paid 50%
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And
you're supplying everything.
And you're pretty much buying most of your own supplies.
Making your own shit.
Making all your own needles,
Totally.
like making inks, and you're literally like, if you got to do one tattoo a day, and it'd be like a minimum charge was $50.
I can remember coming into work, and if somebody was in the needle making station before I got there, I was like, "Fuck!
Oh yeah,
I got a fucking tattoo at fucking 12 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. How many needles are you fucking making?"
Yeah. Fuck, dude, that's why I always had my own needle making shit though. Because like, okay, I'm just gonna make needles.
I made needles for everybody. Yeah, needles for everybody. I made I left Newmarket and went and like Scott McCune was working at Sal's now, so I left Newmarket for a little bit and like Aurora and stuff. So I was working at Sal's again a second time, and it was Scott, Steve, me, and I think Chris was there for a little bit, and so I was making needles for like everybody. Chris was making his own, I think, but I was making all the needles for Scott and then get tattooed with them, and it sucked because my needles probably weren't that great.
Let's do the same thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, those were the shops I was mostly at there, and then I went and I worked full time at Tatarama. Like Eugene, he had opened up a second shop in the Beaches, which is like the whole other end of fucking Toronto.
Yeah, and hard to get to as well.
Not easy. So finally, I moved to Toronto. I was like, okay, I got to move to Toronto, like, and stay in Toronto, and not like live in a tattoo shop. I got to get an apartment. So I finally got an apartment with a friend. And actually, Oswald. Oz. So me, Oz, and a friend of mine, Christy.
Yeah, Christy.
Yeah, because Christy's been my counterperson since Newmarket.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Christy's the best.
Is that Christy that was in White Rock?
Yeah. Oh my god. She's been my counterperson. I've actually got her to be a counterperson in 2 or 3 different provinces and at least 4 different shops.
She's one of those, there's some counter girls that are they just do the job fucking better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And they're legends. Like they're every bit as important as anyone else in the shop, more important, realistically. And she was one of them. She just had the shit.
Yeah.
She's like Katie at Sacred Heart.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Aaron from Bushido that we talk about.
Yeah, like just so good. Like I'll jump ahead real quick to like TCB days. She would come in and work at TCB on Sundays. I got her a job just working on Sundays. And she worked with me and Brian Turnbull. And I don't think Chris worked. It was just me and Brian Turnbull, I think, that worked on Sundays. And she was basically saying it was like being the only girl in South Park working with us. Which she's probably right.
She's worked with some dysfunctional people.
Yeah.
Some great dysfunctional people.
Yeah.
Good humans. But
yeah. So if we go back, got a full-time job at Tatarama. But I took it to the extreme, as I always did. So I worked 5 days a week in the Beaches shop, 2 days a week in the Etobicoke shop. So I was traveling back and forth across the entirety of Toronto, 5 days a week here. I got an apartment. Like our apartment was in Greenwood, close to
the Beaches.
Close to the Beaches. So then I would drive all there. Then I would take the transit all the way across town to work 2 days a week. Oh yeah, streetcar, subway, drive, you name it. Like it was insane. But like, but at Tatarama, like it was good because it was busy. It was flash. You were learning. I was working with guys like I said, Osvaldo Paredes. I was working with him, who was probably one of the most technically perfect tattooers I've ever seen. The slowest tattooer I have ever seen in my life.
But that's why, right?
Yeah, it was insane. it was painful.
Could you imagine being that slow and then not being technically proficient?
It'd be terrible. But like learning from him, like I remember one time we shared a cab. We were going to Studio One to pick up some supplies, and I was like, man, I'm really having trouble filling in the tribal, like getting it right to those edges and stuff. And he's like, well, just use your liner. I was like, oh, for the corners? He's like, no, the whole thing. I was just like, oh my God. Because he would just do tribal, the whole thing with his liner.
Oh my God.
Like, it was just nuts. Like, absolutely crazy. And so, like, I was getting to learn a lot because I was working with guys like Eric. I was working with those, like, I was getting to work with, like, these guys at Tattoo-Rama who were all good, solid, clean tattooers. We had guest artists come in every once in a while. It was Craig Driscoll. He was a big name then. He was doing some cool tattoos, so it was cool. And then Scott and Andreas opened up TCB, and that's when tattooing just changed. Like literally, tattooing in Toronto completely changed in like 2002, 2003 when TCB opened. That shop just was like an entity, like a beacon on its own.
What was it about it? Like,
So-
different from what was going on already.
So, like, a big part of it was one, like, Scott McCune was already known, world famous tattooer. He had worked with Eddie Deutsch, he'd worked with Grime, he'd been to Europe, he spent a year in Japan working with Hideo Ichiyami, working with Makoto Hasegawa, like, just drawing and learning to tattoo and, like, tattoo like a freaking savage. Like, his tattoos were insane back then.
Super strong,
Like, just crazy.
dynamic, and
Yeah. Just like a super cool kind of Horiyoshi with a little more flair.
Yeah.
Is basically what it was. It was like Horiyoshi with a little more flair. So, they opened up TCB, and right away Chris David got in there. So it was like Andreas and Scott and Chris David, who just walked in.
Hello.
oh, Chris David.
What's up, gentlemen?
Getting some hugs here.
How you doing, boys? I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Dude, it's good
Great
to see you.
Great to see everybody. Oh, all right, all right.
Yeah. So perfect timing. He just walks in. So yeah, that shop opened, and that was like the craziest thing I had seen as a tattooer. Because like in Canadian tattooing at that time, Toronto, most places, like everybody had flash on the walls, but it was all like pencil crayon drawings. Like, I don't know if you remember it, but it was all new school. Pencil crayons were cool. Everybody did that.
Crazy blends.
Crazy color, whacked out proportions, all this like crazy
Everything was
shit.
twisted.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden the shop opens and you walk in and it's wall-to-wall flash and 90% of it is all actually hand-painted, real traditional tattoo flash, all by Andreas. Like, Andreas Merrill changed traditional tattooing in Canada in like 1 minute. The minute that door opened, traditional tattooing was completely changed in Canada. Like in the States, it was already like that.
Yeah,
like on the East Coast and stuff. Like
Texas, where you came from.
yeah, like Texas and stuff. But Canada, we just didn't have that. Like we didn't have like that real cool like traditional stuff that we know now. Actually, it was huge in Canada up until about the mid '80s, and then it died.
There was like a historical disconnect for Canadians, I think. Like, it existed and that's all there was, and then suddenly it was like...
And then suddenly it was all like the new stuff and everything.
Yeah.
So like,
The only traditional I would do is if somebody saw Sailor Jerry.
yeah,
They're like, I want that.
Yeah.
But they never wanted the heavy shading. They never, you know what I mean? So it was new school, not neo-trad. It was new school.
Yeah.
Sailor Jerry.
Yeah, like it was a complete game changer because there was nothing like that in Canada. There was not a single shop in Canada like that. So luckily,
And yet what Scott was doing, which to me was that West Coast greaseball style, which didn't exist Like
it was sort of, but it was
American.
Yeah, but it was like Scott's stuff was much more Japanese with a little bit of Hardy kind of in it, because like he'd been tattooed by Hardy, all that stuff.
Being with Eddie
but that stuff that didn't exist in Toronto before then either.
No, it didn't really exist there either. And then so Scott had that, and then Andreas brought this real traditional.
Yeah.
And so like I said, Chris started there right when they opened, and then I started hanging out there on my days off. Like I started actually taking days off from Tatarama so that I could go and hang out at TCB. And then eventually, just through osmosis, they were just like, fine, you work here.
Osmosis. Translation, just wouldn't leave.
Totally.
More than, pretty much, yeah, I just wouldn't leave. And so that's how I got a job at TCB. And so it was like me, Chris, Andreas, and Scott. And then Andreas started teaching me and Chris how to paint, because like other than Dave C in Montreal, there was maybe one other person other than me, Andreas, and Chris and Scott when he wanted to. We were the only people in Canada painting Flash. There was like 4 or 5 of us. That's it.
Yeah, there was very few.
Yeah, like it just didn't happen. No, like nobody did it. And like all of a sudden, people just like other tattooers would come in, check out the shop, and you could just kind of see the look on their faces. It's almost like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. And like we were lucky enough, like me and Chris were lucky enough that we had Scott pushing us to draw better, teach us how to draw right, and Andreas showing us how to do real traditional, where it comes from, what colors to use. Like, no, you don't put that color in there. You put this color in there, and that works with that. And it made it just changed tattooing. Yeah. It changed tattooing almost across Canada, because people started that was the time of forums and shit.
I think that was also the time that our generation was kind of coming to their own and doing guest spots, right?
Exactly.
It wasn't uncommon to go to Montreal or Toronto or Vancouver to do
guest spots. And we were getting guest spots. Like we were getting Dave C was coming in because he was tattooing all of us, and then Seth Ferry was coming up, and Steph was huge in tattooing then, so he was coming up, and Shavino would come up to the shop. Makoto from Japan was coming. Jet from Rochester was coming over. Like we were getting to meet all these people and see all these different tattooing, and then incorporating it into what we were doing, and it just became it became this almost like a training ground.
Yeah.
Like where we were just working our butts off. Like if you weren't tattooing, you were painting.
Yeah.
Or if you weren't painting, you were drawing.
Yeah.
For a painting or for a customer, we were just anything we could do, we would do it, and it was amazing. And then we started through Scott and through Andreas, we started doing some conventions. Got to do the Pittsburgh convention. It was the first one outside of Canada that I ever got to go to, and that was 2002 or something. And I got to meet guys like Scott Smith, Casey Corklick, and Jason Freeman and Lee Hanna, and all these amazing tattooers at the time, and kind of made friends with them, and then talk to them and be like, oh hey, why don't you come out? It's really? I can go somewhere? I can do that?
You were already guest spotting in Ontario. So.
I'm already guest spotting all over Ontario. It shouldn't have really been that big of a deal. But no, I went to Florida and did a guest spot at the shop called Solid Image through a guy I met at convention. Went down there, and that was my first really far guest spot. I got robbed of that guest spot. No. So I was
the guy just left and paid, or actually
no, even crazier. This is fucking wild. So the guy who ran the shop, this guy's Scam. I don't know if you remember him from the Reed Street.
Did Scam rob you?
No, he didn't rob me, which is crazy. But he's a really rad dude. Okay. He had 5 or 6 kids. And he was like a big-hearted dude. Like, so he had this giant house, and I was staying with him doing my guest spot, and so he had he was helping out this friend of his, this girl that was a stripper, and like helping her out to like, I don't know if he was helping her out to get clean and all this shit, but she was still stripping. And basically, like, I was staying in this one room, and then like one night, like the stripper girl woke me up. She came home and she's like, I need the room, blah 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 blah. I brought home this guy. I was like, all right, whatever, fuck. I went and slept in the living room, and then I got up in the morning and realized I had left my pants on the floor in that room, and fucking all my money was in it. All my money was gone.
Oh fuck!
So the dude that she brought home saw my pants there, fucking checked the pocket,
Or she did.
or she did,
Yeah.
and just like ripped me off. And I was just like, so we actually went to try and find the guy, like afterwards at the hotel he was staying at or something. I don't know, but whatever. It was
It's a great American tattoo.
Oh yeah.
I guess I was in fucking Winnipeg of all places, and I got fucking robbed.
Yeah.
But I got rolled and robbed.
I was sleeping. Yeah. At my friend's house. So
That's worse.
that is worse. But like, no, he felt fucking horrible. Like, he actually gave me like almost half of the money that I got stolen. Like, he just gave it to me. But yeah, it was wild. And that was like my first real like guest spot experience.
That's the best.
Yeah. And then my second guest spot ever, I went to work for Love Hate Tattoo in Rochester. And it just so happened,
Another iconic shop.
an incredible shop. Like, if you don't know who Jet is, look him up. He was an amazing tattooer, super rad guy. But yeah, went and did a guest spot there, just from Toronto, and worked 2 days, and then that giant Ontario and New York blackout happened. While I was doing the guest spot in Rochester, New York, at the time was the murder capital of, I think, the United States, and the entire city is blacked out, except for some reason, one street right beside us had lights, and the Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, that's why.
So you can tattoo the Dunkin' Donuts?
So the Dunkin' Donuts was lit up like a beacon.
So you could tattoo
And-
by the window.
People were coming out of fucking everywhere, just showing up to this Dunkin' Donuts. And Jet comes like to the shop because like the blackout happened, and he was doing some stuff or whatever. And I was sleeping in the shop, and he comes in and he's like, all right, dude, I'm gonna load all the guns and make sure you're safe. Because like the first thing he did when I went there was like showed me where all the guns was, showed me where the gun in my station is. It's like, anything happens, that one's yours. There's a shotgun there. That one's easy to grab, so it's all good. We're just like, okay, cool, no worries. But yeah, so my first 2 guest spots ever were crazy.
That's
Just nuts.
amazing.
Just like, yeah, just crazy.
So, where Sean's just getting coffee.
Yeah.
Where does the importance of, we talked about, let's see, where you're working at TCB, you're working
Yeah.
in Toronto. Now, what was what made you leave Toronto? Not made you leave, but
Well-
what was the idea behind leaving Toronto? Because it sounds like it was a
Oh, it was
Great
great.
place.
Like, it was amazing. Like,
Some people shouldn't be delivery people, sorry.
yeah. But
no
like,
coffee.
we like Toronto was pretty rad, and we partied more than most people.
Yes.
Like, I was working with Scott McEwen. Crazy. Wildest person in tattooing. One of the best tattooers ever.
One of the first times I met Scott, might have been the second or third time, I remember him saying to me, and that's why we'll never work together, Dave, because you just don't party. You're I was getting up early to go fishing, and I wanted to get home to go to bed.
Yeah. No, like that shop, we worked hard and then we played even harder.
Yeah.
Like, we partied. Everybody worked a party.
Man, getting tattooed by Scott, my lower arm, I'm not even joking, all of a sudden it started hurting a whole lot more, and it's like, what are we going to do? We have like less than an hour till last call. And I'm like, let's just call it. He's like, okay, we'll finish tomorrow. So we actually just stopped fucking tattooing me because he was coming up from Sacramento, and it was so fucking late at night
Yeah.
that we just just beeline it right to the fucking bar and just order like 20 fucking drinks before. Because that's the thing in Toronto back then. I don't know what it's now. You can just order as many drinks as you want, but you had to just drink them before 4 a.m.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We
probably just bleeding. Yeah. It's just fucking dripping of blood. I got to for like 7 hours.
Yeah. We partied hard.
Yeah, you guys have a reputation.
Oh yeah, we were known across the country and in other countries of being wild, like just a wild shop. Like traveling with McEwen was one of the craziest things I've ever done in my life.
I'm sure.
Every convention was insane. The very first Austin convention, we went to that, and somehow, like, about an hour after the show, everybody's just kind of partying in the lobby, and all of a sudden, like, through the lobby, McEwen is making out with a girl on roller skates, just doing circles, banging into people through the entire crowd. Just completely, just doesn't care, doesn't know what's going on around him, just running into people while him and this girl on roller skates are just swinging around, hitting people, and just busting through a crowd.
It was pretty much the same in Green Bay, Wisconsin when we went in '94.
Anybody with as much confidence as that guy.
No, nobody ever. No. But he backed it up. He would party that hard, and he would be the first person on the convention floor ready to tattoo.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
In the early years, yeah.
In the early years, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, it was crazy. Like, absolutely crazy. And, like, I was so lucky to work with him and work with Andreas. Like, through those guys and meeting, like, other people, like, I got to go work for Richard Stell in Dallas, Texas, who's, like, the godfather of Texas traditional.
Yeah.
Like, I got to go work at Paradise Tattoo, which was, like, the most famous tattoo shop there. Like, and because my friend Casey works there, so I talked to him. Like, we were just talking on the phone one day, and he was like, "Oh, you should come down." So I talked to Andreas, who I knew like he knew Richard really, like, pretty well and stuff. And I was like, I really want to go down, work with Casey, work with Richard. Casey said it's probably cool. Would you call Richard for me? And he's like, "No, you call."
Yeah, of course.
He's like, "Just call him up." So I was like, "All right, fuck it." Called him right out of the blue, just like called the shop. "Hi, can I speak to Richard, please?" Yeah, you don't know me from nobody.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to come down and work at your shop. I'm friends with Casey, who works there.
He can vouch for me.
Yeah. And Richard was just like, it was like, "Hold on a minute." Yelled for Casey, asked Casey. Casey's like, "Oh, yeah, he's a good guy." Okay. He's like, "All right, come on down." So I went down and spent Christmas in Texas.
Sweet.
And, like, yeah, I spent my whole Christmas.
Next episode not brought to you by Starbucks.
So it's been, like, a whole Christmas, New Year's, all down there, like, hanging out with, like, getting to work with, like, Richard Stell, and Casey Corklick, and that was amazing. It was super amazing. But yeah, like leaving TCB was a big decision.
Must have been.
Because it was
super formative in your career.
Oh, yeah, huge. But I was kind of, like, done with partying. Really wanted to, like, just kind of focus on tattooing more. And I'd met Scott Veldon through Dave C. and Marnie. And it was the first time I met, him. And in Ontario. And then James Tex had just left. And I just kind of, like, called him up and said, "Hey, I'd like to come out and do a guest spot." And he was like, "Sure." Because back then I didn't give a shit. I'd just call anybody and be like, "Yeah, I kind of know you. Maybe you'll let me work at your shop." So I said, "Fuck it." And I just called him. And he was like, "Yeah, come on out." So I went out, worked for like a week and a half or something like that. And really liked it. This city was whatever. It's a city. I really don't care what city I'm in. I never had.
City, though.
Yeah. At the time, it was very busy. The hourly rates were way higher. And so it was definitely, like, way busier than Toronto. And there was really nobody out here doing traditional tattoos at all. Nobody was doing it. Everybody was doing kind of like the illustrative, so stuff from Paul.
Yeah, totally.
Like we're celebrating Paul tonight. But yeah, because he had such a huge influence out here, and yeah, nobody was really doing traditional. So it was like, okay, I could come out here, and I actually could offer something different than anybody else is, because there was nobody else out here. So me and Scott kind of talked about it, made the decision. Yeah, I'd like to move out here. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, fucking, I'm sure. Went back, told Scott, I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to move to Calgary. And he was stoked for me. He was like, yeah, you know what? That'd be rad. That'd be really good for you. And I was like, dude, thanks. Told Andreas. He was a little bummed because me and Andreas were really good friends. We hung out a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, we hung out after work all the time, played Madden football video games all the time. Like, yeah, like, we hung out a lot. So he was pretty bummed that I was leaving, but he understood. Like, that I wanted to change, want something different.
Yeah.
So
What year was that? 06?
06, I moved out to Calgary.
Okay.
So yeah, I said, fuck it. Neat story about that is Chris was still in Winnipeg at the time. And so me and Scott called Chris David and said, hey, Dax is leaving in a month. If you want to move back to Toronto and work here, you got 30 days. Let us know now. And Chris was like, okay. So Chris moved back. It was like that, like just decision like that. Yeah. So I moved out here, worked with Scott. It was different. I'd never worked in a custom tattoo shop before. Always just worked in street shops.
Yeah.
So like,
And that was in Inglewood?
no, that was the original shop on 17th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was
So-
it wasn't a main floor?
No, it wasn't main floor, second floor, huge, not really much flash on the wall.
I think that's where High Wire is now.
No, High Wire is down further.
Down a bit further?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like it was like pretty cool. There was like cool paintings on the walls and stuff, but yeah, it was like really different. Like it was totally different. So I had to like making appointments and stuff. Like we hardly made appointments in Toronto. Like literally until 2006, I was barely booking an appointment.
Yeah, Tuesday I got time.
That's why I was so bad at it. Like when I
Yeah.
talked to Jessica on the podcast, when I worked with her, I just didn't know how to like really maneuver my way through that kind of shit.
Oh, yeah.
I needed somebody to kind of do that stuff for me still at that point because I was like, I just fucking worked at shops. Yeah. I just worked at fucking shops that just told me what to do. And I was like, okay, cool, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was
right?
it was
So I
so
get it.
it was so different because I just spent from 1997 to 2006, so 9 years of pretty much just doing walk-ins.
Nice.
Like it was weird. Like I was tattooing tattooers from all over Ontario that were coming to get traditional tattoos at TCB, which is like I did some of like Bryce Sims's first tattoos. I did Dan Innes's first tattoos. I did like it's crazy when I think back to it now.
I bought a tattoo machine off you when you worked at TCB.
Yeah,
One of my first liners, like nice liners.
yeah. I think I gave you a painting. I gave you a Mr. Lucky.
How is your machine or your mind better than mine for memory? Because I know I had injuries.
I remember crazy
you're
weird
like,
shit.
what's I have the same memory.
Yeah.
And I smoke meth.
But no one says
Years.
that affects your memory.
Yeah, good point.
I don't need to. I've been crazy and wired
Yeah.
long enough that
And I ended up selling somebody a tattoo machine in there. It might have been Wes, and I think I might have sold my car to Wes.
yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, like
Anyway,
so that's how I ended up moving out here, and
how long were you in Calgary for?
I was here for like 2.5 years almost.
Okay.
Yeah, working with Scott. It was really crazy. So I started going to Europe while I was here, and working with Henning Jorgensen at Royal Tattoo, and how that happened was just freaking bizarre, like just completely strange. Like I've been doing the Montreal shows since it started, and became friends with like this girl Jamie Ruth from New Orleans, who's been tattooing longer than me. Really good friend with like Marnie, and like super rad chick. And she'd been going to Henning's for a couple years and working over there. And I guess Henning needed somebody because one of his workers was going away for like 2 months. And I guess he was talking to her somehow, and somehow she was like, "Oh, you should call my friend Dax. I bet he would do it." And just gave him my phone number. And I'm at H&R Block doing my taxes with like an old Nokia.
The one time you did your taxes?
Yeah, like, the one time I did them properly.
Back then?
So I'm sitting at H&R Block getting my taxes done, and I get a phone call, and it's just all these numbers. I'm like, what the fuck? Answer it. And it's like, I'm like, hello? And it's like, hi, is this Dax? I'm like, yeah. Oh, this is Henning Jorgensen from Royal Tattoo in Denmark. I'm like,
You're right.
really? I thought somebody was messing with me, obviously. And he's like, no. Jamie Ruth gave me your number. I looked at your work on MySpace, because it was MySpace back then.
It was MySpace back
Yeah.
then.
And so, yeah, he like asked me to come out and work there for 2 months. And like, what do you do when Henning Jorgensen calls you and asks you to work? You say, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't even like talk to Scott yet or anything. I was just like, yeah, okay. When do you need me there? He's like, oh, I need you here. Like, and it was like a month and a half later. And I was like, no problem. I'll make it work.
Book my flight today.
Yeah. And literally, I did my taxes, walked, like, I was like doing them during shop hours. Like, I took the afternoon off to walk back to the shop and told Scott, like, hey, I'm going to Denmark, I guess. Like, never been there before.
Amazing.
So went out there, worked with him. Like, that was like the second of just like tattooing changed for me. Like seeing bodies of work that he had done, like even 10 years before, people he'd been working on for 10 years. And the stuff that he had done 10 years before looked better than the stuff that 90% of people were doing now. And he was even brighter and it looked more solid. And it was just like incredible. And just watching him work and like the methodical, like drop the liner in, pull it back, pull it straight out. Every line looked like it was drawn with 2 rulers on either side, and he dropped a Sharpie in between. Like, it was just nuts. And it was so busy. And I did 2 color tattoos in 2 months. Just black.
Tribal.
Where's one across the street?
Yeah. Just black.
I've heard that from Lucas. I've heard that from other tattooers too. Like, if you
So-
go, you're just going to fucking be
Yeah.
tribal, probably.
Yeah. So,
No matter who you are.
yeah. So basically, like, how Lucas got to work for Henning was from me. I was already like, so I'd done 2 months there. I'd done another trip, and like my third trip, something happened where I wasn't going to be able to go. Like I had all this shit come up, I think with my family or something. I can't remember what it was. So I was like, oh fuck, what do I do? I have a month's worth of appointments already booked in Denmark.
Yeah.
So I called Henning and I'm like, dude, I can't make it. He's like, I'm like, but I think I can send a friend of mine to fill it in. He'll do a great job, blah, blah, blah. Again, looked at MySpace.
Yeah.
Here's his tattoos. I drove up to Red Deer. I called Lucas. I'm like, dude, I'm coming up to see you. I need to talk to you. I got a big favor to ask you. He was all freaked out, thought like something was going on. I'm like, dude, I need you.
Totally look at someone in the trunk.
Yeah, like he thought like the world was ending or something. He didn't know what that was going on. I get there and I'm like, hey man, so I need you to do me a favor. And he's like, okay, what? I'm like, I need you to go to Denmark and work for Henning for a month for me. And he was just like, what? Like, he was just so confused. He didn't know what the hell to say. He was like, I guess yes. And like he had like a little kid then, and like he had a crazy busy shop, and Good Guy hadn't started yet, or it was just starting, so he was just getting it off the ground. And it's like, yeah, I want you to drop everything and do me a favor and go work
In a month.
for
In a month.
one
For a
of the like most insane tattooers and insane tattoo shops, but you have to go now, pretty much. Like a month, get ready, go. And he was just like what I did, okay.
Yeah. Fucking chance
yeah.
of a lifetime.
Exactly. And yeah, so I sent him there in my steed, and basically he's just started going there more and more and more. He loved it. Now he's got pretty much a bodysuit from friggin' Henning. But yeah, so yeah, I sent him out there without a
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So Calgary, you you left Calgary at some point too.
Yeah.
What was next?
I left Calgary. I was here for about 2.5 years. I actually got fired.
Hey, it happens.
Yeah. The only tattoo shop I've ever been fired from is Eternal Image by Scott. We're still friends. He was here earlier. It was a weird time for me. When he hired me, I just for some reason I didn't.
Sorry, could have went so many ways.
Yeah, I wasn't really stoked on the whole custom tattoo shop only thing, and it was driving me crazy. And if I didn't have an appointment, like
You weren't there. I was just about to say,
I let you
yes.
Yeah.
You became one of the tattooers.
I became one of those assholes that would do my appointment and leave.
Yeah.
And Scott didn't like that. And I didn't like it either, but I just couldn't do it. Like
It's hard
I was
to
burnt out.
tattoo shop, man.
I was really burnt out. I was mentally down, everything. Like I was not in a good place. So I actually had just kind of like started getting back with an old girlfriend of mine, and like me and her talked, and we took a 2-week road trip together. We went out to BC, went out to Victoria, worked a little bit at Jamer's shop, got to hang. Chris David was living out there then, and Brian Turnbull was living out there then, all guys that I worked with at TCB. So it was just like, you know what, like I don't care where I work in Victoria, but I just need to be around my friends.
Yeah, totally.
So I came back. I did 2 weeks at Bushido working with this guy.
Gave me his apartment.
Yeah, I literally gave him my apartment, like everything I owned.
Everything.
I was like, here, do you need a TV? He's like, that's a 20, or no, it was like a 40-inch TV.
Yeah.
And that was 2000.
A fucking mountain bike that still had the little rubber knobbies on the tires because he barely fucking rode it. He put everything he owned into like the smallest U-Haul trailer that you could buy. Just the
tiniest little U-Haul.
Everybody afterwards is like, why do you have 2 couches? Why do you have 2 beds? Why do you have 2 of everything? I'm like, Dax left. And Dax moves like I do.
Yeah,
Just wanted to.
yeah, I just got rid of everything, and I moved to Victoria.
Oh, and your books. Fuck, I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
So many fucking
Oh,
books.
I gave you like 7
100 pounds of
crates
books.
of books.
And for anyone listening, books back then, and still for most of
Or
us,
things with hard covers that opened and pages turned.
Yeah, and you need them to draw from because there was no frigging internet or iPads.
well, even more than that, it was that you had your own personal reference.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't you
Your
weren't
reference collection defined kind of who you were as an artist.
Oh yeah, because you would search out books
Oh, yeah.
that had different stuff that nobody else had.
yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't show it to your fucking friends.
Mhm.
No, like the
Oh,
guy
you would, but you wouldn't show them the cover.
Yeah.
I show you a photocopy.
I'll show you some photocopies of my favorite pages.
So,
oh, what book is that? A book.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And like I remember in the early 2000s, like when I was working at Tatorama, is when eBay first started coming out, and we were finding all these books from Japan.
Yes.
And we were figuring out, like, okay, yeah, I can get this one, this one, this one, this one. And we were ordering fucking books from Japan.
Dude, I still have a
Like-
fucking copy of the pirate Old English stuff with your handwriting on it that says,
I used to have that.
yeah. So he gave it to Dustin. You got it off Dustin.
That's
I
right.
got it off. I photocopied it off you.
Yeah.
And mine has like the faintest writing on it where Dax wrote, "Don't say I never gave you anything." And that's what I mean. Like, fucking, where that original page came from, I don't fucking know. It's like, who am I going to copy this for? I don't know. I have certain shit where, like, guys at my shop would be like, oh, what's that? I'd be like, none of your business.
Oh, yeah. There were books for years I would not let people look at.
And stuff wasn't developing in tattooing like it is now because of the internet, where like
No.
lettering styles have gotten like out of fucking control. So you have the reference you can have for lettering styles now
Yeah.
is insane. But back then, you were lucky to find a decent Old English.
Well,
But that's the thing. There was like the thinner, taller style.
I remember where I got all that stuff from now. So in 2003, at I think the Toronto convention, these guys from Pasadena, like LA, came up from Shogun Tattoo, and I met all them, and me and Charles were
Sorry,
guys.
that fucking guy is crazy. That deep sea fisher guy,
Yeah.
kayak.
Yeah, Charles is the best. Charles is the shit.
Oh, fuck, I remember Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I met him like in like 2003. I met all those guys that work at that shop, and they invited me to come down and work at the shop. So I went down for like 2 weeks, and then they were going to do the Inkslingers Ball. So I extended my trip, and I tattooed at the Inkslingers Ball. Did that convention somehow, and so this is Pasadena, and in the back of their shop, they had a drawing table set up. And on the wall was like a freaking 1,000 names and like little mini alphabets written out, because like everybody down there can draw perfect script and perfect Old English. It's just beautiful, and we didn't have any of that stuff. And like before I left, I can't remember. I think it was Pete Castro or maybe Charles. One of them like gave me a whole bunch of photocopies of them.
Oh, sweet.
And he's like, "Here, man." Because like your script sucks. basically, he was telling me that my writing was terrible, but here, this is how, like, take this and it'll fix it. And it was funny, like Pete's a rad dude, but he's Mexican. Most of his tattoos were all like Mexican or kind of Japanese Mexican, which is like a kind of weird style down there, but it's pretty rad. And I remember like he asked me to tattoo him. I did like a big traditional dagger and rose in the back of his arm. And all he could say was, "Getting my first American traditional by a Canadian." He was like, "All right, cool. Whatever." But, yeah, so like a lot of that stuff I brought up in like 2003 to TCB. Like Chris would use them and I would use them because it was like perfect handwriting. It was so nice. And like learning how to like, now I can just draw that stuff. But like for years I traced it.
Yeah.
Remember
I had to.
there was the Old English sheet that you had, and then there was the sheets that Dave C had got from Tony's grandfather, Tony Janessa from Points of Charles Tattoo in Montreal.
Oh, from his dad with all the flourishings.
Yeah, his dad and his grandfather's. Was it his dad or his I can't remember, but it was a flourishing book.
Yeah,
and I can remember getting a photocopied version of that and being like, oh, "This is where it all comes from."
It's like new sign painters finding old sign painting lettering.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I know where this comes from.
Yeah.
Like, if you can figure out like where it came from, right, then you can build off.
It's like back engineering, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like that was like moved to Victoria, worked at a shitty shop called Universal Tattoo. Didn't really give a fuck. But
First, I did a guest spot there. It was terrible.
yeah, it was absolutely terrible. Tattooed your neck there.
Yeah.
Big old cover up. Thanks to him, I ended up fucking tattooing all these tattooers' necks and doing all these crazy fucking cover ups because he wouldn't shut up. "Oh, Dax did this. Look, you can't even see it."
Yeah.
Did his whole fucking forearm.
Cover up, get a snake by Dax.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so he did too.
Yeah.
And,
People still fucking ask me, "Oh, did you get that orange just touched up?" It's like, no, I don't even know if I'm pointing to the right fucking side. Yeah. Like, did you get that done recently? No. 2009.
yeah,
What? Like, yeah.
Termaglow.
Yeah. Dermagold navel orange.
yeah, and hammered in there.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's a technique.
Light-handed, no.
Not hard to get tattooed by at all.
It was easy. It was fast, man. It was super fast, but it was brutal because I could just feel my ear canal collapsing underneath fucking
Oh yeah, it was a terrible
this
spot.
machine. But yeah. And it was fucking hot in that shop.
Oh, it was
just
terrible.
uncomfortable.
It was terrible. The best part was going fishing. You got to catch a salmon, and then we cooked
Yeah.
it for dinner.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, he caught his first salmon.
Nice.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
fucking great.
Out of James Bay or something?
Yeah, right out of the harbor.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to get charters there all the time.
Colin Wiley came with us.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking call him.
Yeah.
Another fucking Toronto
Oh,
dude.
yeah. Him and Brian Turnbull.
Yeah.
We started guys, but
Realize that if you're like a kind of fatter, older white dude from Toronto, you stumble really well through tattooing.
you kind of do. It's kind of weird. But you kind of do.
It's like fucking, we leave Toronto and people in other cities are like, these guys are kind of fun. Let's let them into our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't think in Toronto back then at tattooing you could survive as an extrovert.
No.
Introvert. too.
Yeah, no, you could.
Even if you were an introvert, you had to,
You had to be out there so that people knew who you were.
and just so people wouldn't
Yeah.
pick a fight with you.
Well,
Yeah.
that happened too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Victoria was kind of like it was fun. I got to see Chris David all the time, and
Ew.
I'd even like I'd be working sometimes at Universal and it'd be slow, and I would just walk down the street and go hang out at Government Street and actually like pick up a walk-in or two while I was down there, and then go back to Universal, and they'd be like, "Where'd you go?" "Ah, I went for a walk." Meanwhile, I just did like a walk-in or.
I went to the vegan buffet that weighed your plate, charged you by the pound.
Yeah. But then,
Just let us wait.
yeah, I was also traveling a lot during that time. Like I started going down to Seattle, and I was tattooing in Seattle a bunch, and then I was going to like work with Jim Roselle in like
Cool.
Yakima, Washington. So living on the island, I just kind of felt like I was like just trapped because it takes so long to get off the island to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So
You really got to want to live on the island.
yeah,
Live on the
you do.
island.
Yeah.
You do.
It was the same with Seashell, right? With
Yeah.
Sunset Coast for
Yeah,
me.
so Clint Danroth was opening up a new shop in White Rock. And me and him were talking, I can't remember, it was like at a convention or something like that. And it was like, I'm opening up this new shop, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. I'm not really happy where I'm at. He's like, well, I'd really like you to come out there and work for me. He's like, but basically, you're basically going to be alone there. I'm going to only be able to come out one day a week. So basically, you're going to have to run the shop.
I remember this setup.
So I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not? I've done it before. Yeah, like I've done it before. I've run tattoo shops before I even knew what a tattoo shop was, basically.
And that was not a bad shop to be
No.
No, it was like,
or with people at. It was great, right?
yeah, it was like,
Right on the beach.
it was right on the beach, tattooed in these big windows.
It was on the reservation. So
Yeah, it was
locals were
awesome.
Awesome. You know.
It was so awesome, great food. There's like amazing things, and it was so easy for me to travel. Like literally, the border was a minute and a half drive, and I was driving down. I started working a lot at my friend Jason Coons' shop in Bellingham, Washington, and then I was working in Seattle a lot still. So I'd work at both. I'd like maybe stop at Jason's, work there for a day, and then drive down to Seattle, work there for a couple days, and then drive over to Yakima, drive back, come back to Vancouver after like a long weekend, or come back to White Rock and work there. I took my dog with me everywhere too that time.
Yeah.
Dog that ate your hat that one time. But
Who was the first artist to join you at Craftsman?
well,
Besides Clint, of course.
it was Clint, and then like Luke would come like once every like once a week. I think he'd come one day a week.
Yeah, because all the good skating was still in Vancouver.
Yeah. So like it was mostly by myself, like at least 4 days a week, and then and like it was actually not bad. I didn't mind it. Ugg would come for a day, so it'd be me and Ugg, and then Clint would come for one day, and it'd be like me and Clinton.
With Rob showing up, Rob Hope.
So when Rob started showing up after about 6 months.
Yeah.
Because that's when he quit his job, and then he started just like traveling around and doing whatever the hell he wants to, because he's Rob and he can do that, and he's awesome. Rob Hope, incredible,
The best.
Never.
Yeah. Just awesome. And then not your type, not at all. So yeah, so like I was working there, and then Clint was starting to get worried about money and stuff, and like so he wanted to hire more people. He hired the one kid who works for you.
Kai.
He worked.
Guy's not a kid.
He was a kid then.
Kid in tattooing.
40 now.
Yeah, he's 40 now, but he was a kid then. But yeah, so we hired Kai, and that was cool. Kai was cool, and then he wanted to hire that Scummy Dan kid.
Yep.
And so he came to me and he's like, "Hey, I want to hire the Scummy Dan kid. Blah blah blah. Do you know anything about him? Blah blah blah." I said, "Yeah, I know lots about him. If you hire him, I quit." Told him straight up. If you hire that kid, okay. Everybody, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you will.
If you hire him, I'm gonna quit. He had ripped off. Ryan's coming back. Yeah. He had done shitty shit at Sacred Heart.
We don't need to get into it.
Yeah. Whatever.
Not someone you wanted to work with.
Not somebody that I wanted to work with at all. And so basically, he was like, "Okay, I'm not going to hire him." you're right. It's not the right thing to do. I was like, yeah, it's not the right thing to do. And then so we, like 2 months later, we went on Christmas vacation. Clint likes to take Christmas vacation, shut the shop down for like 2 weeks. Christmas Day, he calls me, wishes me a Merry Christmas, and then goes, hey, I've decided I'm going to hire that Scummy Dan kid. He's going to start end of January. I'm like, cool. I'm giving you my notice. I'll be done by the end of January. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah.
I told you.
I was like, I told you. I'm a man of my fucking word. If I say I'm going to do something, I am going to do it. And I don't want to work with that dude, so I'm out of there. So that's when I went to go work with Woodley in Vancouver. Yeah.
Who's my Scummy Dan?
Who's your Scummy Dan?
Chad Woodley.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Like,
Fuck, I came in, I must have been just months after you left that I ended up at Craftsman because I worked with, I think I worked with, for a short, like, it might have been a week or
Short.
two.
And Ugg left. Yeah, Ugg left right before I came and did my first guest spot with you.
Yeah.
Scummy Dan was there.
Ugg left like a month after I quit.
Yeah.
Because Ugg was actually working at Chad's in Vancouver
Gotcha.
at that time.
Gotcha.
And at Craftsman like once a week.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went to work with Chad, and everybody I know, you, Chris David, all kinds of people told me that there's no fucking way in hell that me and Chad could work together. That it's going to be insane. That we're going to be fighting all the time. And it was one of my best times in tattooing. It was like,
We don't know everything.
yeah, yeah. You guys got.
I also didn't know how well you could just let stuff slide.
Oh, exactly.
Right? Like, I remember one time I was there and Woodley was just eye looping fucking needle after needle after needle after needle and just getting more and more angry, fucking looking at every fucking needle. And Dax sat at his table laughing. He's like, you know how you can fucking find a good needle, Chad Woodley? How, Dax? Fucking tell me how I can find a good fucking needle, Dax. Tell me. Dax like, stop eye looping your needles. Exactly. I'm like, fucking shut up, man. He's gonna tattoo me.
For an hour and a
It's
half.
true.
Yeah. No, it was true. I stopped eye looping my needles in fucking 20 years ago, and I've never had a bad needle since.
Yeah. If they don't spit, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, like working with Chad was great. Like artistically, Chad's mind works awesome.
Yeah.
He can draw his ass off.
Fuck yeah.
And I learned so much from Chad.
Yeah.
And me and him, actually, yeah, we did fight like cats and dogs, but it was we would fight about the weirdest little shit. Like we would get in an argument over the angle of a fucking hand in a drawing, and all of a sudden it's like this huge argument, and then we just both just drop it and we kind of look at it and we're like, no, we were both wrong.
Yeah.
It's just like whatever. So we just didn't care. Like we would get in shouting matches occasionally, and Chris Styles worked with us, and it was almost like he would just be like a little puppy in the corner going like, holy fuck! Like watching fighting. Yeah,
That's right.
it was amazing. But I learned a ton working with Chad.
Fuck yeah. You know
Like,
a ton of stuff.
Yeah, he really does. Like he can
And he
draw
cares.
his ass off, and exactly, he
Oh,
cares about tattoo.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the biggest things for me is like caring about tattooing.
Yeah.
And then also like I always want to work with people who are better than me. Because if I'm working like always by myself, it sucks because you don't learn anything. You don't have somebody telling you what's wrong. That's why like anytime I've worked at a shop like sort of by myself or in a custom shop, I've traveled so much to go work with people who are way better than me. Because that's the only way you learn.
Yeah.
You have to sit there and watch them.
And get inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah, just looking at people's stuff in back in our day, magazines was inspiring.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't the same.
You know,
Like, I would go and get a tattoo.
You can't reverse engineer that shit. If you don't understand it,
Totally.
you don't know how to actually replicate it, right?
No,
So
you
going and working with those tattooers is how you learn how to.
Yeah.
And you either reference, and then you're like, oh, that's that where that came from. Then like, oh yeah, he got
Exactly.
this. And you're like, holy fuck. And then you figure out this whole lineage and pattern. And you're like, oh, there's a formula.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like,
Exactly.
I got it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like even just like going to do a guest spot or like going to a convention and get tattooed by that person you like their tattoos.
Yeah.
Because you want to watch them tattoo and see how they do it. Like when I'm tattooing, I can I'll be doing something, and I'll look, and I'll be like, oh, I learned that from Andreas, or I learned that from Scott, or I learned that from Woodley, or I learned that from Henning. Like I'll just remember like where I picked up that hand movement, or that like little twist in a design or something. And like Scott McEwen said it to me when I was like starting out, like when I was real young. He's like, dude, you watch me tattoo, ask me any question. He's like, it's not going to make sense to you now, but in a couple of years, you're going to be tattooing and it's just going to click. You're going to be like, oh, that's what he meant.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, and you might not even like know that you learned that until, oh, fuck. That's why you did that.
There's shit now that it's like, that I'm not doing, and I'll remember it. I'll be like, why did I stop doing that?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, why did I stop working one very particular way for one particular thing? You know what I mean? And it's just like, somewhere along the lines, I was like, maybe saw somebody else do it. Was like, oh, that's a good shortcut. Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? Just didn't really know exactly. Again, didn't reverse engineer it properly. You know what I mean? And it just never really worked for me. But then it just became my bad habit and whatever. And and then it's style. Like, you know, and then fucking, you know, the bad habit becomes your style, and it's like, it's just like, oh yeah, fuck.
Yeah, like for me, it was always about being like, if I can be the worst tattooer in a shop, I'm stoked.
I would prefer that.
I am so stoked.
Yeah.
Like, even my first 2 years at TCB, I lived like a couple blocks away. Like, I would walk down the street and get coffee on the corner, and then I'd walk half a block over, and there was a shop. So every day, I would wake up, take a shower, walk down the street, get my coffee, and from the time I had walked from the coffee shop to the tattoo shop, I'd said to myself at least 500 times, this is the day they find out I suck and they fire me. Every freaking day for like 2 years, I was expecting them to just be like, you suck.
I think a lot of us carry that still.
Oh, I do all the time. I totally suck.
Like, don't come over here. Like, don't come over here.
Oh my God. I remember the first time working, tattooing a New Tribe, and we had Bill Baker visiting and Scott McEwen. And I'm just like, trying to do a fucking like arm, and I'm like,
oh, you think that's bad?
And then all of a sudden, fucking Scott, what are you doing?
So I think it was the second Vancouver convention.
Sounds like a beagle.
Yeah, it does. The second Vancouver convention. We flew out from TCB to do it. It was like me, McEwen. I can't remember. Andreas came. I think Chris came too, and so we're tattooing, and right across from us is the Dutchman booth. So it's like Clint and Paul and Clint and Rob and Halter had just started there.
Okay.
So Dustin was there too. But Halter had just started there, had been tattooing at Dutchman's maybe like 6 months or something like that. And Halter just beelines it over to me, and he's like, dude, I really want to get tattooed by you. I want you and your wife to I want you to tattoo me and my wife. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, you guys work at the Dutchman.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? I got to tattoo you and your wife? And he's like, yeah, like, we just want, like, small tattoos right here, traditional, simple. I was like, oh, okay. So set up to do the first one or whatever. And I'm about to start tattooing Ryan, and I kind of look over my shoulder, and John the Dutchman is like right here.
Oh, yeah.
His head is right here. So, and he's not saying anything, just standing there with his arms behind his back, just kind of leaned forward just enough so that I could probably feel his breath.
Yeah.
And that's probably on purpose. And so I just, okay, start tattooing, tattoo Ryan, all good, bandage him up. He hasn't moved. Hasn't said a freaking word through the whole tattoo. I clean him up, put a bandage on him. Holly comes over, gonna tattoo Holly, and then a little tattoo on her. He still hasn't moved. He's still standing behind me the whole time I getting ready and everything, putting the stencils on. Tattoo Holly. He's still freaking standing there the whole time. I'm just dread. By this time, I need to go to the hotel and take a shower and change clothes because I am just done. Like done. Because that's what, 2004?
Oh, fuck.
I've been tattooing for 7 years at the most, and just like finish Holly's, bandage her up, whatever. I stretch. I'm like, oh, I kind of turn back. I'm like, how's it going? It's like, he's like, that was cool. And just left. That was all he said. I'm just like, what? Was it good? Did I do it right?
Oh, he would have told me.
Was it okay? And just like, and he just left. And I was just like, okay. So I just spent 2 hours sweating. And I was probably dehydrated to hell.
I think I did 3 days at Dutchman for a guest spot, and I probably lost a year off my life.
Oh, God. Well, like, that convention was my hell. The second Vancouver convention. Because I had met Trevor McStay the year before at the first one. And he came for that second one, too. And so we were done. We were all going to go out to dinner. And for some reason, I went with like him and our friend Ron from Arizona went up to Trevor's room to get ready to go out, wherever. Like they were like above me, so I changed, grabbed them in their room. And Trevor's like, young fella, your portfolio in your room? I'm like, yeah. So go get it. I'm like, what? Like, go get it. I'm like, okay. Go up, get my portfolio, come back, just kind of like hand it to him. He tries to take it. I'm like, no. Like, give it to him. And he proceeded to go through every single photo and told me what was wrong with every single photo.
See, did you
in the entire book?
did you a big favor?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Did me a
that's a
huge
gift.
favor. That was a gift, yeah. He went through my entire portfolio. But the rad thing was, like, he told me, yeah, this is crap, but if you did this, it would have fixed it all. Or this trick here would have fixed this. Or that color there would have fixed that. And it was incredible. And then, like, since that point, I gave my portfolio to anybody I could.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, when I flew out to Hennings for the first time, I'm like, here's my portfolio. First thing I said to him, like, here's my portfolio. And he proceeded to tear me a new asshole. Like, tear me a new asshole. It was amazing. But it's what I needed.
And that's motivation.
Exactly.
Because you want to come back and be like, look,
Yeah.
I learned.
Yeah, but they're also not telling you like, oh, you just suck.
No, they're
Telling you how to fix it, right?
Yeah,
Which is
and it was
huge.
incredible. It made such a huge difference in my tattooing.
Totally.
And then while I was on that first guest spot at Hennings, Trevor happened to call Henning for something. And they were talking on the phone, and I didn't know it was Trevor or whatnot. And Henning's just talking on the phone while tattooing. He used to wear this cool little headset with a little microphone and everything. It was awesome.
I'm gonna ask him about that tomorrow.
Yeah. And so he was tattooing, and all of a sudden he stops tattooing, takes his glove off, and he grabs the headset, and he's like, here, someone wants to talk to you. Gives me his headset, I put it on, and it's Trevor. And he starts giving me shit because he's like, oh,
You'll go to Denmark.
I'll go to Denmark, but I want to go to Australia to work with him. Oh, no. I can fly to Denmark, sure. I can go to Hennings. And he's all being, like, super sarcastic and giving me shit. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. Just like, oh, my God. Give the phone back
Have you
to
gone to
him.
Australia yet?
No. But I'm saying
I'd be
to
afraid to
you,
go to Australia and just not be able to understand anybody. At least in Denmark, they can speak English.
Oh, it's not-
oh, man.
Go
Oh,
to Scotland.
yeah, true. True. Very true.
All right, so Woodley's.
Woodley's,
And
worked
then,
there for like 4.5
then you
years.
went back to the prairies, right?
And then I went to the prairies, went to Saskatoon.
Yeah.
And I've been in Saskatoon now for, it'll be 8 years in, it'll be 8 years April.
I didn't think you were going to last more than 2 years just because,
Because of the prairies.
well, and also you're a city kid. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like
Pretty much, yeah.
not born and raised city, but
Yeah.
you've matured into a city kid, right?
Oh, yeah. But I traveled extensively, and I still do.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the first year I was in Saskatoon, I figured it out at the end of the year. And I was actually only in Saskatoon for 5.5 months.
Oh, shit.
The rest of the time I was in Europe because Marty had moved to Europe. So, I'd go and visit her in Switzerland and do the Paris convention and do the Montreux convention and, doing all the conventions in Canada, doing guest spots. Like, I still travel way too much. But it makes it so I can live anywhere. I don't really care.
Yeah, and is travel such a bad thing? I think in this,
No.
I think in this business, it's the biggest benefit to an artist, right? Like just that.
It is.
Talking
And-
about earlier, inspiration.
Let's be honest. if more people fucking traveled and actually immerse themselves in more ways of living, we'd have way less fucking problems in this fucking
Oh
world.
god, yeah.
absolutely.
And like and a lot of it for me is my mental health. I don't really have very many friends in Saskatoon. I've got like 5 friends at the most. 5 friends in
You're
Saskatoon.
doing good, buddy.
Well, like 4 of them are who I work with, and then I've got like one that I used to work with, and my friend Grant, and that's it. That's all I have for friends in Saskatoon. So I need to go. Like I got
Sorry, Saskatoon. If
yeah, sorry
you're
about
that lady and think you're its friend.
yeah. But I go I go to Edmonton. I visit him at least once a year, sometimes twice. I come here to Calgary. I work with Ryan, usually twice a year. I go out to Langley, and I work with my buddy Mike Pryor. Mike Pryor, who is the best. And I might have actually convinced him to come to Saskatoon this year.
Oh, bullshit.
I know.
He didn't even come to visit me at my,
He did just go to Toronto.
I know. I was at the same time as him.
He left Langley, yeah, for 4 days. So I might have talked him into coming up.
Oh.
I'm hoping, I'm praying that he does. But yeah, so I go to Langley to hang out with Mike because he's like one of my best friends, and I love going to that shop and just hanging out. And yeah, like I still love traveling. I do fucking so many conventions. Like this year,
Well, now you're also doing machine seminars.
I'm doing machine seminars. Like,
When did you start Walkin Slayer? Like, when did you start? You've been building machines forever, but when did you start, like, building to sell?
so building to sell, I only actually started like
Not that long ago.
8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much when you got
Before
the.
that, I would only build machines for myself and my friends.
Yeah.
That's it. I would only build machines for myself and my friends. I wouldn't sell a machine to somebody I didn't know. One, because I have an insane hang up, and if I know that machine's a paperweight, I will fucking lose my shit.
Best liners in the biz.
I try.
Best ones I've ever used.
My whole drawer is just fucking your machines.
Yeah, and so, yeah, about 8 years ago, I said, fuck it. I'm actually going to get serious. Taught myself how to weld because I didn't want to do brazing because I had built machines with Jim Moselle and stuff like that, and I was not really that good with brazing, and I'm kind of scared of fire. I don't like fire. It freaks me out. And you got to use big torches and shit, and I'm just expecting I'm an idiot and I'm going to blow myself up. Like, that's what goes through my head. Like, oh, I'm going to turn this torch on, and I'm going to lose my hand. So I figured, you know what?
Welding.
Welding is way safer.
I'll just torch my eyes.
Yeah. So whatever. I got a shield for that. So it's all good. So I taught myself how to TIG weld, which was surprisingly easy.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just really started like focusing on just building machines that like not trying to build like 14 and 18 round liners, and not like trying to build like all these crazy machines, but just good, solid machine that you need to do like a small Pinterest tattoo. You can throw a bug pin 5 in it. You need to do a little bigger traditional tattoo. You can throw a loose 8 or a loose 9 in it, and it's just gonna work. Like I always like Jesse Young always gets mad at me because I sell my machines for way too cheap, and he gets pissed off. And any convention we work together, he has to fucking lower his prices because he does. He lowers his prices $50 if I'm there and he's there selling, and he gets really mad.
Well, machines have kind of got inflated over the years. I'm not saying they're not worth it.
Still selling them at 1994 prices.
I thought you were going to say 1994. Chinese knockoff.
Yeah.
1994.
But yeah, like I don't care. Like, I'm not in it for money. Like, that's the thing with tattoo machines. I don't do it for the money. I do it because I love fucking tattoo machines, and I love seeing people use my tattoo machines. I get so stoked. And then so I started building machines again, got seriously into it. And my whole thing was like, at first I wouldn't sell a machine unless I used it for a month. Now it's down to like 2 weeks, but I still have to use it.
Yeah.
I can't sell a machine to somebody that I know isn't going to do the job.
Yeah, if you only use it for an afternoon or 2 afternoons of tattooing, you don't know what's going to fucking spring could break the very next day. Or
I've had a machine run it for a fucking 3 weeks. sold it to somebody. The first tattoo they did with a fucking machine, bro. Just like mother.
Dude, my apprentice Hannah was snapping every fucking machine that he built me for 3 years. Not a problem. She used it one afternoon, snaps a spring. New spring, snaps a spring. He comes and visits, and I'm like, dude, you need to work with her to figure this shit out. He's like, hey, I broke a spring. He's like, what the fuck are you doing?
That's bad tattoo juju.
Dude, she like, not like, even Dax was like, there's no burrs. He's like, there's no burrs. How are you? Dude, she broke spring after spring. Not just on one machine, like multiple fucking machines. When she left my shop, I was going through her toolbox and I was finding my machines because I had so many busted fucking springs, but she was hiding them because she didn't want to tell me broke another spring. I'm just like, oh my fucking god.
But then, yeah, like, I think it was like maybe 2 years ago I started doing seminars because for one, I was just sick of people like, I was getting people sending me back machines that literally the contact screw needed to be turned. Or, like, yeah.
Sorry.
Like, literally, like, that kind
That'll
of
be
stuff.
$100.
Like, and
That's not
and then, yeah, 700 to fix it. But I realized that, like, in the last 15 years, anybody who's been tattooing probably for the last 15 years was never taught how to even turn a contact.
A lot.
Oh, I know.
Nobody was taught, like all you have to do is maybe have a little spring tension or something like that to get a machine.
Sand the contact.
Yeah, like clean your contact screws, clean your coil core, little things like that. So it's all stuff that like we learned at a younger age, like back when,
Out of necessity.
out of necessity for like doing like you had to know how to fix your machine if something happened. Especially back then, you only had a couple machines
Yeah.
because you couldn't afford a whole bunch of them.
No.
So I started doing the seminars, and it was just about maintenance, cleaning, troubleshooting, stuff like that. Real simple, but stuff that like people just didn't know. And I was amazed to see how many people were coming. Like I was getting like 12, 13 people coming to these seminars. So I started doing them like at every convention I would go to. I'd set up a seminar. And then like some people were asking me like about like spring cutting and stuff like that so they could actually cut and fix their own machines. So I started doing the seminars that I'm doing now, which is basically like you get a machine. I pretty much put everything together. You got to shim it and spring it. And then I teach you how to tune it.
Cool.
Like it's pretty simple stuff. Like I just mostly just do liners because they're the easiest, quickest for me to do.
It's simple though, but if you know what you're doing, but it's kind of a huge mystery and an arcane art.
So many people I've talked to like have like they're scared to take apart a machine.
Oh yeah.
Well, a lot of people are scared to use coils because they've been told that they can damage the skin, and it's like, bro, you're using something that won't stop moving, no matter how hard you push on the fucking skin. Yeah. What do you mean the coil's gonna fucking do more damage? It's like
they just sound scarier and they're faster.
Well, I think the fact that they're adjustable and you can tinker with them also opens you up to you could fucking break them and fuck them up.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
There's,
yeah.
You know, pens. You're not touching it. Like there's nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah. No, and you get like maybe 3 years out of a pen or something like that, and you got to buy another one.
Yeah. Not the way I tattoo. I probably get 10.
Yeah. When you tattoo once a week, that's what happens. But
it's not more than
that. But yeah, it's like so. I just wanted to like do a seminar like that where I could kind of show people like, look, like it's not that scary. It's really not, and you need to know your tools. Like, and like. I see people do this all the time is they buy machines from the wrong people. Like someone that does a lot of whole fine line stuff, they go and they buy a machine from like Chad Coplinger. Like Chad's machines aren't made to do that.
No.
Like I tell people all the time, buy a machine from a person who does what you want to do.
Yeah.
Totally. Uses the same sort of size needles.
Yeah.
Uses the same whatever. Like if you want to like do big 14 round lines and stuff like that, buy a liner from Chris David, buy a liner from freaking like Chad Coplinger or someone like that. Don't buy it from me, and I'll turn down sales all the time. I don't care. because I'm not in this for the money.
Yeah.
But buy the machine that's going to do the job for what you need it to do.
Yeah, there's plenty of great machine builders out there that I'm like, oh man, I love their machines. I buy one and I'll be like, this doesn't work for me.
No.
Because it's not what I do, right? And it doesn't make them a bad fucking machine builder.
No, it's just it doesn't work
It's
for
just not tuned. And why am I gonna retune this fucking machine?
Exactly.
I mean, stuff. I'll just sell it to somebody else that wants to use that machine, right? It's like,
exactly.
If you're using coils too, I think you should buy a machine in parts, put one together, and start building and tearing it apart and trying to figure out what works for you, so you understand.
That's what I did.
Right?
I used to order machines from eBay. I would just buy like pieces of shit, and then I'd buy like some good ones off other machine builders or whatever. Like I bought my first Cessa Ferry in like '99, and first Aaron Canes back then and stuff. I would save up like crazy, like save any tips or whatever. Then once I had enough money to like make them call and mail order it or something, I would. But yeah, like it's always like I probably wrecked a ton of machines because I would just take them apart
Totally.
and then put them back together and figure out why is this running the way it's running.
I think that helps your tattooing too, because
It did.
I
think so.
There'll be days where you're running machines that don't run perfectly for you.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out how to change to make it work, which tells you what the limits are, right? Like not just the machine, but yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck, I can do that with a slower running machine. I thought I had to run fast, and suddenly something else.
Yeah, totally. So so I've started doing those seminars now, and I usually do like one at every convention. I'll usually just do it at like a friend's shop or something like that. Now I do very minimal, 6 people. That way it's like super easy. I can give people lots of attention, tell them like, yeah, do this, do that, try this, try that. And I'm not like I don't care. I'll tell you where to buy everything. Like if you want to buy spring stock here, this is where you buy it. You want it's not going to affect me.
No one's going out and building a machine shop to build fucking tattoo machines.
Like not nowadays.
Yeah, if you've done it, it's fucking expensive.
Yeah,
and it's a major pain in the ass. Like,
it's terrible.
Yeah,
but I love it. Yeah. It's something in tattooing that I love. I love tattoo machines. I always have. I have literally boxes of tattoo machines. It's terrible. I probably have 200 tattoo machines sitting in boxes in my drawing room. Like no word of a lie. And I probably have a box of like 100 frames.
That number seems low to me. I'm thinking back when I first met you, you had probably at least that many machines.
Yeah, I've gone through thousands.
I think the machine I got off you was built out of a horseshoe, and it had like green seafoam green coils.
Oh, probably.
I just remember how well it ran, and then I fucked with it. Never fucking ran good because that fucking paper shims in there. Typical like Jim Roselle style, where it was like,
oh yeah,
how is he shimming this? This isn't even. It was like,
it's not supposed to be even.
Yeah, I use money. I'll use little pieces of like $5 bills, $20 bills. I'll use money for shims. I'll use all kinds of
different
stuff.
Thicknesses. Fuck, I keep looking at your watch and it keeps throwing me off because I'm like, it's still early. It's fucking late, and we have a movie premiere tonight.
Yeah.
So now comes the fucking brutal question. And also, thanks to Good Guy Supply.
Thank you, Good Guy,
for bringing us this episode, and Holdfast.
Thanks for Stronghold Tattoo for letting us do it.
Yeah, Stronghold Tattoo. Ryan Gagne, the piercer, letting us use his beautiful piercing studio.
3 piercings every Saturday. What's the phone number here?
Ample Langs only.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, Prince Albert and Ample Langs
Those
only.
are Sunday as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently they've changed the rules now. He doesn't have to wear gloves when he does it.
No.
So
barehanded.
Are we doing the new question or the old question? Because
we're doing the old question.
Old question.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
top 5, buddy.
Who's your top 5 favorite tattooers?
Keep it fucking short.
Yeah. All right. So
we don't need a story.
No stories. No nothing. So I can do this 2 ways. I can do this top 5 all time, or I can do top 5 Canadian.
Pick one.
Pick one.
No, pick one.
Yeah. All right.
They're your top. It's not like
So, like, for me, it's kind of more who inspired me.
Yeah.
Coming.
That's what it should be.
That's 100% what it should be.
So for me, top 5 tattoos, obviously Ed Hardy.
Fuck yeah.
And then
I think that's the first time somebody said his name.
I know.
I don't know why, but yeah,
He's on my top 5.
Ed Hardy,
Not that I was asked.
and then
Not asked or anything.
so jackass. Richard Stell,
Oh, that's a good one.
like Richard was a huge influence in my tattoo.
His fucking pork chop sheet is fucking
Yeah, it's
moneymaker.
still incredible. And then those are kind of like the older guys that I really like. Pat Martinick, like old school Pat Martinick.
Canadian.
His Canadian, his flash is amazing. His great grandson Jesse's still kicking it, or grandson Jesse is still kicking it.
Picture machine.
Yeah.
In San Fran?
No, he's in Reno.
Oh, fuck, cool.
Yeah, you should
And the shop
really
called Picture Machine, right?
No, so Picture Machine was in San Francisco.
Okay.
Pat died in the shop.
Yeah.
His son Gary, before Pat died, had moved to Reno and opened a shop there.
Oh, okay.
So Gary's son Jesse Martinick,
Is working at Gary's shop.
yeah, he's still, and Gary just died last year.
Oh, shitty. And what's the name of that shop?
God, why I'm having a blank right now. I can't remember, but Jesse Martinick, you find him on Instagram.
Okay.
Awesome dude. He's
So many people is wearing
Yeah.
Martinick Flash and
They have no idea.
Of course.
Yeah. They come
No,
up,
this is my bro.
Yeah.
My bro did this.
Yeah, sure you did.
like they still have family in Edmonton. Like Jesse said, he goes there like every year. Goes to Edmonton.
Sweet.
So yeah, so like Ed Hardy, fucking Pat Martinick, Richard Stell, and then like really it's kind of like friends who inspired me. Like so like honestly like Chris David. Like me and Chris we skateboarded together. We basically learned to tattoo together more or less. Like we came up together and we pushed each other. Like just like honestly like Chris would do something and I look at it and I'd be like, fuck, I can do that better.
And he's super consistent his whole
Always.
career, you know?
Yeah.
It's always been like,
Yeah. But like Chris David has been a huge, huge inspiration in my tattooing. Even though I did a whole bunch of shitty tattoos on him. So bad. So bad.
remember him now.
How is he still my friend? I have no idea.
You got him into tattooing.
And then I guess like probably my fifth, I really have to say like inspiration was Andreas Merrill,
Fuck yeah.
who owns TCB. Like
Toronto, Ontario.
yeah, like him and Scott McEwen, like Scott for different reasons, but like really like for me it was Andreas, and just really like showing what real traditional tattooing is. What
Yeah.
like back then we were using all the powders that he made. Like he was making a lot of his own ink still and stuff. So we were using that, and like he was telling us like where to get our needles. Get these needles, they work good, and like showing us how to draw. And he taught me and Chris how to paint, and like he just changed he changed Canadian tattooing. Like they really did. Like traditional tattooing would have got to where it is now. But it would have taken several years later.
It's cool that there's such a big Texas influence on Canadian tattooing between Andreas and
As well, Scott McEwen and Chris Trevino were best friends.
Yeah, Trevino with
Yeah.
Dave C.
And Dave C getting tattooed, and like
Marnie
getting tattooed. And there was so much back and forth between Texas in that late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's like the Texas traditional came up here. The Texas Japanese came up here.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like in
Texas
that whole Toronto kind of Montreal corridor, it was weird. Like you would think we'd be more influenced by New York, but we weren't back then.
Totally.
Now it's more influenced by New York. Like you go to Toronto and it's like the Toronto style of traditional tattooing is the New York style.
Of course,
tattooing.
yeah.
It's very similar. But back then it was the Texas style
Yeah.
is what we were doing. And it was awesome. And like I said, it changed tattooing in the early 2000s when nobody else but us was doing it.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy. We were like, it was weird. Like we weren't booking appointments, but like people would just walk in, want to get a piece of flash, sit down, tattoo them, and find out it's a tattooer who lives like 4 hours away, and they just drove in hoping to get a fucking walk-in.
Amazing.
And just like, okay, cool. Like just craziness.
Yeah.
But it was awesome.
Yeah. Different
Yeah, different times for sure. It was nuts. But yeah, so this is probably your longest interview. And only probably covered about half of my tattooing career.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. Oh my God.
We can always do a part 2.
Really?
So we'll pick the questions.
Yeah.
We only asked you one question.
I just kept bringing you back. That's why I just kept getting out of the walk. I said before we started this that we were going to ask a question and Dave and I could just leave. I literally could just leave.
Yeah, you do.
Multiple times.
I was expecting to have like questions written out, just like the ones I did for your book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do that.
No, well, because it was me, I figured you would have.
No.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dax.
Dude, that was awesome.
That was my
To
pleasure.
hang out this week.
Yeah.
We got,
Thanks to the whole Fast Social Club and Good Guy Supply.
yeah, not brought to you by Starbucks.
Fuck Starbucks.
Brought to you by Good.
The good. The good. The
Because they got the
bad.
goods.
The bad. The good.
Yeah, tonight we got the movie premiere, 200 Hours.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Paul Jeffries.
Retrospective.
We're not going to have any new episodes. You guys, I'm talking like this is fucking live. Oh, so we're going to have any new episodes this week. This is not coming out for a while.
That's not going to age well.
Yeah, I'm leaving this in because this is Wednesday. We're in Calgary all fucking week for this convention. We got a lot of people to hopefully strap down to the fucking chair and interview, and we got some good people lined up already, but definitely we'll have some more people that we want to get recording with, man. So Dax was our first. You always remember your first.
Nobody can forget me somehow. Fucking terrible.
It's like an oily stench. It sticks to you.
Hey, at least my tattoos last.
Yeah, they do.
That thing was covering up some crazy shit too. That thing's
Yeah.
still. My
You
pink
covered up
is
some dust and stuff.
I did cover up some dust
You
and stuff.
fucking son of a bitch.
I know.
Can't see it on the
I
camera. Very
covered up those.
It was great getting to know Curly and this amazing guy that tattooed with one arm. You know, the customer had to stretch his own skin.
So I did get blood poisoning from him twice. Yeah, twice.
Ed Hardy brought this whole Japanese influence into American tattooing.
Once Dave Shore come onto the scene, it was like tattooing completely changed.
If anybody could say anything about greaseball Japanese, it's fucking Dave Shore.
Salty, piratey, bikery, just hard not to do.
Man, he'd pull in on his chopper with the tattoos and the girls, and I mean, he was just like so cool, man.
He captured vulgarity and pleasure and insanity and recklessness.
Tattooer in the 80s or 70s. Just not the same, yeah. You had to be a tough guy.
I was scared shitless. Even though I was kind of a biker guy, these were bigger biker guys, you know?
I'm not totally sure you could paint the picture accurately to somebody now getting into tattooing about what it was like then. And the only reason I would say or I feel that way, though, is because they might not believe you.
We had the limo waiting for him with all the lines of blow lined at the airport. This is the way we do it in Canada.
In like 80s, 90s, Paul Jeffries was like the king of tattooing. It wasn't just in Canada.
Like, am I supposed to stop tattooing? Because if this is what I'm supposed to aspire to, it's not gonna happen.
Each one of these old masters influenced groups of tattooers, who in turn influenced other groups of tattooers.
The True North Strong Tattoo Book. This is a massive tattoo encyclopedia of Canadian tattooers. 350 pages. It's an 11 by 17 coffee table format. Shawn and Dan worked tirelessly to get this thing out, and sadly it never made it to print, so it's available for free download at theholdfastsocialclub.com and championtattoo.ca.
I will put in hands on your neck.